Hey, it's Rob Ryan. Welcome back to Entrepreneurial Thinkers. If you have ever wondered about how successful that Mexican restaurant is or that Venezuelan restaurant is in your neighborhood and why they're so good at what they do, this is the episode you want to check out. We're joined by my friend Lilly Rocha from the Latino Restaurant Association, which is a national organization here in the United States that is primarily focused for now on the Los Angeles, Houston, Texas, and New York City markets in support of Latino culinary entrepreneurs of all shapes and sizes and stripes and backgrounds. And it's an incredible conversation and insights into the restaurant and hospitality industry, which is right now in 2024, kind of in a moment of crisis and going through a period of great upheaval and transformation. And so Lilly adds her perspective, her experiences, her wisdom gained from the stories of success stories around the country. And obviously, we talk about why the Latino restaurant industry is such a key part of the overall kind of growing Latino economy and its influence demographically here in the United States. But we also dive into what makes Lilly tick and why she is such a special, special woman and such a terrific leader, both here locally in Los Angeles and then kind of universally across the country in her current job and in her philanthropic work, in her leadership of boards and nonprofit organizations that she's participated in over the years and she gives us some inspiring wisdom on just kind of how to navigate maybe an untraditional career path to becoming the leader that she is respected and valued right now. So I'm super grateful for the conversation, and I'm sure you will enjoy it as much as we did making it. Hola, hello, hi, bienvenido, and welcome back or welcome to Entrepreneurial Thinkers. I am so grateful to have this conversation with this person today because this has been a conversation long in the making. So we are joined by the unstoppable powerhouse Latina and proud Angelino, Lilly Rocha. Lilly is the CEO of the Latino Restaurant Association. She's the founder of Sabor Latino Food Industry Trade Show. She's a trailblazer in the Latino culinary and food industry worlds, having worked to transform and support the industries across the country from her home here in Los Angeles. She's got over a decade of experience and has transformed the Latino food landscape in partnership with so many talented entrepreneurs and restaurateurs here in Los Angeles and all across the country. She helps set new standards for excellence and innovation and has cemented her role as a respected executive and community leader, at least here in our hometown in Los Angeles. Her journey from project manager at Nokia to leading influential organizations such as she does today showcases her intuitive entrepreneurial thinking, her entrepreneurial spirit, as I like to say, and her dedication to shaping any industry that she's a part of. Beyond her professional achievements, she's also committed very actively in the community to philanthropy, volunteering with a number of different organizations like the American Heart Association, in which she was the star of one of their campaigns years ago, the LA Economic Development Group, and as well as serves on various other boards. She has a passion for sales, marketing, and events, and uses all of those to make an impact in both the culinary and just kind of the broader Latinx communities, while making a most important impact, a daily impact in her family's life as a mom, partner, and in her own pursuits, a student and future lawyer at the University of California, Berkeley. Go Bears. Lilly, welcome. Bienvenido to Entrepreneurial Thinkers. It's so awesome to see you.
Oh my gosh, that's yeah. I'd love to know that person as well. What a great bio read. Thank you.
My pleasure. Somebody joked a couple of weeks ago on an episode. They said, "Can I just hire you to come around with me to my meetings and just like introduce me to everybody whenever I have an important meeting?" I was like, "We'll have to check that out as an option, right?" So it's awesome to see you and I we're friends through some common people, and then we've been friends online for years now, it seems. And we occasionally would literally run into each other somewhere in town. And so I've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day to visit with us.
Oh no, thank you so much. I have also been looking forward to this conversation for a while as well. So I am really happy to be here with you today.
So we're going to dive into it. We've got a lot to cover, but a couple of important topics. And I want to hit the first one because I want to just kind of cue you up to be able to share with our audience why the work that you're doing right now is so important. So tell us, why are Latino-owned restaurants and food businesses so key to the economic growth of our country?
Yeah, well, as you know, we are an economic labor force. So, not only right now, it's a great time for Latinos to be restaurant owners, but we are also the labor force in all restaurants. I defy anyone to find a restaurant where we are not working
Right.
in. And so, I think, given that we're part of the labor force of the restaurant and hospitality world, and we're also now becoming a force the ownership side, the other side. I think it's a really good time for everyone, not just for the country, but it's important for everyone to really acknowledge this big force that we bring to the table.
Yeah, I know. I've seen in work you've done. I've seen in things you've written about and interviews you've done. Right, where we talk about a lot just the demographic shift in the country. Right, so kind of the growth of the Latino communities, kind of far and wide, no matter where we are, and how much economic power exists inside of that community. And so, to me, it just makes natural sense, right, that Latino-owned restaurants or Latino-led restaurants would thrive in the next 50 years.
Right, and it's folks like yourself, Rob Ryan, a non-Latino who's not just embracing, but really have you have your open arms to embracing all people, especially Latinos in this entrepreneurial spirit, because obviously we see a lot of the opposite happening where people are scared or like, oh my gosh, this and that. And it's like, this is we're the what is it, the fourth, some people say the fourth or the 11th largest economy in the world here in California.
Yeah.
There's enough for everyone to be successful. And so
Yep.
the more collaboration we have, the more we work together. I feel like the cream of the crop of all people will come up and do really great things. So yeah, so I see that happening a lot, and obviously I celebrate others who do that as well. And I
Yeah.
thank you for also highlighting a lot of Latinos.
Yeah, no, no, no. I mean, that's yes. It's a particular passion of mine. I guess it's when you're given a platform, or in this case, created a platform like this, or how I utilize my social media. It's just one of those. My mom used to say, "Leave the world a little bit better place than we found it," or "Leave every room that you enter a little bit better than you find it." And so I'm both trying to do some good, and I'm also like really neat when it comes to leaving any room that I'm in. So I'm an easy person to get along with. But I have a question, a little bit more kind of the background inspiration for you, right? So Latino Restaurant Association, you've been involved in the industry for years in a lot of different ways. The LRA is an organization that you became attached to in recent years, and I'd be curious because you travel the country with this group, right? And so you're all over the place. What's the most inspiring part of the work that you do, and how it supports the Latino culinary entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think now, in this period of my life, I'm a little bit older, a little bit more seasoned in things that I'm doing. I feel like I get a lot of joy from seeing people who have put in the time and actually get it. Like we're teaching, the classes on the marketing plan, like profit margins, et cetera, and it's nice to see that the folks who have um, taken the classes and taken the steps to learn how to run their business well, and then to see the fruit of their work.
Yeah,
It's lovely to see, like one of the, for example, not one of, I cannot take any credit for them, but La Monarca, you're very familiar with them. We work closely with them on other projects, but these two guys had an idea to be the Latino Starbucks, and right now they just their products are now in Costco, and
wow.
they have many locations, and I just to see, and that's a lot of hard work, obviously, but just to see people like that. We also have smaller folks who have up to 11 locations. They're not doing like La Monarca sales, but they're
Yeah,
doing it's like the second generation, third generation, and now they're implementing technology. Let's say the parents started, I have for example, a bakery. Their parents started it just like mom and pop, cash business. Now the second generation is implementing technology. Their kids just graduated from USC Business School, and now they're coming back and saying, hey, let's see how we can implement these systems into our bakery and scale the business. So it's nice to see when people employ things that they've learned and are using them to and are being really successful at it. So
Yeah.
that's always nice to see.
No, I would imagine. And you're such a stalwart builder of community and relationships. So I see, just as an observer, like through your social media, through your journeys, right, that when you go to a city and then you come back and then you go back and you go back and you see these like kind of stories develop, and you see these people that you probably met for the first time when you went to Houston or when you went to New York as the CEO of LRA. And now you're going back and back, and you go back to those same places and you see them flourishing. That's got to be pretty rewarding.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's nice to see, and you're right. Like I go there. We've expanded. The LRA expanded to New York and to Houston in the last couple of years, and it's nice to make those connections and see people really growing and taking the next step to building not just generational wealth, but um, really something special for themselves and their families. It's
Yeah,
great to
no,
see.
that's really cool. The restaurant industry is incredibly difficult, anyways, right? I mean, for anybody in any conditions, even in the best of conditions and the best of times, it's incredibly difficult. What are some, if there are, help us understand, like what are some unique challenges faced by Latino entrepreneurs in the restaurant space, maybe versus peers from other communities?
Yeah, well, let me make sure I say this. We are still in a crisis. The entire hospitality community is still in crisis. So there's, we're just still seeing, we're still in a very, not a very good situation when it comes to the hospitality slash restaurant industry. For Latinos, we have a myriad of issues that are unique to the Latino owners. Everything from like what I just mentioned in terms of like this bakery that I know that the kids are coming back and implementing technology, but that took a while because the family, you know, the father wasn't necessarily open to that, and so
Sure.
you know, having to kind of people who have built something and they're very comfortable, but then having like the second generation
Yeah.
come and try to help. That's like something that we see a lot in our
Interesting.
industry. Of course, one of the things that we also see is that women kind of take a back seat to the
Okay.
men in the industry. So we've seen a lot of that where they want to take the helm, but then they're like, no, we're women. And of course, me, I'm like a big feminist. I'm like,
Right.
just do it.
Right. But
And
to your point, these are like the generational thing, maybe partially culturally tied, but also just probably generally true. But the women thing in machismo kind of
right,
societies
right,
and cultures, right? That persists even still. And then it's like, hey, we built a successful business. Who are you to tell me? Like, right? And the kids are
right.
thinking, hey, you might not have this business if you don't let us implement some new approaches or new technologies. That's interesting. How does the association, which I know again is not just you, like how does the whole team, how does the organization help to try and help restaurateurs get past those hurdles?
Yeah, and then just to continue, like there's the language barrier. There's a lot of owners who, they're doing great or they know how to manage, but then the language skills, there's so many other things tied to, culture. So what we do is that we use surveys. We use a lot of data from the surveys to see like where people are, and of course, even just taking a survey is unique to like we can't do like traditional surveys. We have to do it in a different way
Right.
because we do have to talk to people like one-on-one and things like that, so it takes a lot longer to get a lot of the data that we're looking for. And so what we try to do is we use that data to put together some amazing programming. And so based on people's feedback and what, like right now the women's program that's really popular too, but I also don't want to forget like, okay, that's great, but we also have a lot of men who need help, and
Sure.
we have lots of different programming that comes from the data that we collect. And so what we try to do is make sure that it's culturally relevant, that it's in a language in Spanish, so that people can attend during times when they're not working in their restaurant, which is never because they're
I was
always
just gonna
working,
say, right, yeah.
right? And so we really, and then there's on rare occasion when somebody really needs like one-on-one help, we bring in the experts. So all
Oh
of our
wow.
classes are taught by experts. I am one of the experts. However, I like to bring in all kinds of people. Like I'll meet people in Houston or New York or wherever, and we do bring the experts to teach the different classes that we offer to our membership. And so
That's
that's kind
incredible.
of a fun thing because there's a lot of things that like we're not going to you're a class on like how to deal with your mom and dad's business
Right. That's very
as a
specific.
Latino like child. Yeah, exactly. Like we definitely will touch upon that as well. And then we have, a lot of folks who dial in and have a lot to say about that. So a
That's
lot of
fascinating.
unique characteristics to
Yeah.
who we are. Yes.
It's funny. You just made me think of something. The last 3 weeks I was down in Orange County. I used to live down there a long time ago, and so I was out on a walk, and I happened to pass an El Ranchito Mexican restaurant where I used to go all the time, and I hadn't been in literally probably 10 or 12 years. And I sat down, had dinner by myself, and while I was kind of reminiscing, I was thinking that the success model of that family, of the Avila family, was that they did kind of embrace the generational kind of growth that came, and that they did lean into, okay, it wasn't a franchise model, but it was kind of akin to that, because I remember specifically, like, as the younger kids would age and like graduate from university, there's the girl, the Elise, that worked in the San Clemente location, like, as she was learning, and then she and her husband took over and opened up in Seal Beach. And I remember that journey and like listening to her talk herself through that, right? And in that case, it was like the grandparents, and then the parents, and then the uncles, and the aunts and stuff. But now I asked the girl that was waiting on me. I told her kind of the little story, and she was like, "Oh, that's great that you know everybody." Like da da da. And I said, "Yeah." It's like, "How's it all going?" And she's like, "Oh, now like 5 of the, I think, 11 or 12 locations are run by young women, are run by like the second or third generation women." And I was like, "Okay." They're setting themselves up for the future. So that's awesome. That's incredible that you facilitate programs in multiple locations with a network of experts, mentors, coaches, like people who just want to contribute back to their community. That's
Right. Right.
that's really
Well, yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's something that there's a lot of passion for sure. And I never, there's never, we always find people who want to help. There's always an abundance of folks who are always wanting to help us out.
Yeah, I would imagine, like, once if you've gone through it at any level, right? You're like, hey, I know how hard this is, right? From when I ran this restaurant, or I do run this restaurant or company. So like, I want to give back and help somebody else have a little less hard time. That's incredible. All right, so we're going to change gears a little bit. I want you to tell us all about this. I just saw you all over the local TV stations, like super famous, right? Like, so you helped produce the Dine Latino Week here in Los Angeles. Tell us about that, because I know it's been happening like annually. So tell us about that and its importance to our community.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Yeah, I can't take credit for starting the Dine Latino Restaurant Week. I actually stole the idea from our Latino chamber in Pennsylvania,
All
and they were
right.
like, "Oh, go ahead and use it." So I'm like, "Thank you, I will." And I took it and took it to another level here in LA. We have a great team at the LRA. Who just are amazing at recruiting restaurants to participate. So you probably have heard of Dine LA. It happens every year. It's a program that is run by the Convention and Visitors Bureau. However, to participate in Dine LA, most restaurants have to pay anywhere. It could be anywhere. I really don't want to say what the exact
No,
prices
no,
are, but it could
they
be
have to
anywhere
they
between
have to
like
pay fees.
$800 all the way up to a couple $1,000.
Okay.
Those are the numbers that I got from people. So what
Yeah.
we did is we created a model where, thanks to our sponsors, restaurants could participate for free. Latino restaurants could participate for free,
Nice.
and so that's been our model where restaurants who are members sign up. Restaurant owners who are members sign up, and then we do all the promotion, as you saw from. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were on every channel. This was our most successful year, this past year, and which was like a week ago. And yeah, we were everywhere. I got phone calls from a lot of participants who were just so happy to have a lot of new customers because of what they saw on television
So
and in
we're
social media.
so like the association is able to look, I mean, maybe not this year, right, last week, but like over the time, you're able to look back and track like, oh, okay, we helped these restaurants improve their sales by this much, or like the restaurants themselves kind of
Right.
get a gauge for like, I came in because Dine Latino Week, right? So, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so
let's
right now the numbers are anecdotal because we don't have
sure.
like a connection with the restaurant, but we did receive lots of feedback from restaurants during the week, right after, saying a lot of people saw this and they came
That's
in because
amazing.
they'll see it on TV and then they can go to our website and check out the participating restaurants.
Yeah,
Obviously, we highlighted some particular restaurants, and so they did see a spike in new customers, so that's really great. And like I said, I did receive those phone calls, so I was really happy
yeah,
to hear that and see that. And I know that it was our most successful year. Like we just had so much going on last week, and and there was a lot of great feedback from every area of the Dime Latino Restaurant Week
that's
project.
amazing. That's amazing. Congratulations. That's really cool.
Thank you.
So, all right. So we talked a little bit about LA just now. I touched earlier. You expanded. You said you expanded LRA to New York City and to Houston. Do you see kind of all the same trends, all the same problems, all the same opportunities in each of the cities, or are there unique variables in a couple of cities that maybe you could share with us, either challenges or unique upside that the different cities experience?
Yeah, I think what I see in the different cities is a lot of the same problems, but obviously at different times. Because, like, for example, the minimum wage situation in New York was happening prior to the minimum wage situation in
Here,
LA
right?
and things like that. So, but we do see a lot of similarities with regard to what's going on in the different cities. But like I said, just at different times. LA has the alfresco dining situation that we had been dealing with the city of LA, mayor's office, the county. Not so much in New York because it's more seasonal, the alfresco dining, as you know.
Right.
And Houston is very, they got their shit together, really. So
Nice.
from what I see, it's very different. It's some similar issues, but because it is it's like a blue state versus red state, they have California very different. And we are
Sure.
having a lot of our issues because we are a left leaning state where we have, a lot of the labor issues, a lot of other things that aren't the most friendliest to business. And
Yeah.
so we do see a lot of issues arising from that sort of
Interesting.
legislation.
It,
Yeah.
it must be particularly informative for you as you travel, right? Because you can gather up kind of the best practices and or the responses to the challenges from the different perspectives, and then you get to bring that to bear again as the expert, as the advocate for them in the different settings. That's got to be interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It definitely is. It's very eye opening and absolutely gives me a different perspective from each city. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
cool.
able to.
You in your past life, years back, right? You launched an event, a trade show called the Sabor Latino Food Industry Trade Show, unless I'm getting the name wrong. But does that event still exist? And if it does, how has it evolved over the years? And why did you do it way back when?
I was in the trade show industry many, many years back, and I was an executive in the trade show business. I was running the one of the top, actually the top specialty coffee trade show, and that was interesting because I did travel all over the world, and it was the specialty coffee show, and I really loved the trade show business. And this was, I mean, we're going back like 15, 16, 17 years ago, and I just saw myself being really successful in that space. And then I noticed at the time that there wasn't a Latin food trade show. There was one, and it kind of dwindled down. And I was keeping track of it every year. I was like, again, data driven. So I decided to use my entire life savings and start a Latin food trade event, trade show, not open to the public, just B2B. And basically, I mean, at the end of the day, I lost all the money that I invested. However, I did learn a lot, and I am a better person for it. It just, you gotta go through a lot of crap when you're an entrepreneur. I had a great experience, met some great people, but again, I do think when people ask me like what happened, I would say the number one thing that happened was that I was running multi-million dollar trade shows for corporate companies that own portfolios of trade shows. Like they might, they own 300 trade shows, 200 trade shows, and I was an executive there, and I saw, and I was very successful. And I said, okay, how hard could it be for me to run my own trade show? It's going to be easy for me to,
Right.
do this trade show, start the trade show, and run the trade show. And that's one of the themes that I speak about, because you're running a multi-million dollar trade show, you have a great educational background, it does not translate into being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And that's a different skill set altogether.
Confidence,
And so,
confidence, and naivete become very quick bedfellows in that world, right?
yes, exactly. And so, one of the things that I did was I didn't speak to the bankers, the CPAs, the finance people. I, was very successful in running events and, bringing in the ROI, bringing in the revenue for, the owners of these events. And that's just, it's a whole different world when you're an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. So,
No. Yeah.
so that is one of the reasons I would say that I'm successful today in helping folks, because I do have that experience of
Yep.
making many mistakes. And I try to tell people don't do this, and they still, like, I see people
Yep.
just going into the
Right.
I'm like, don't go there,
Yeah.
don't.
Right.
And
Yeah.
but I remember, if you probably would have told me not to go
Same
there,
thing.
same
Yeah.
thing. And I did. I had
Right.
people saying, hey, you know
Of
what? You
course.
stick your money in real estate. You'll be
Yeah.
a millionaire
Of course.
and I should have done
But
it.
I mean, yeah, okay, so right, and we can always say that in hindsight. But the truth is, like, part of the kernel of truth here is that your vision, like your sense of the industry opportunity, was spot on, right? I mean, because the as I've learned through following you and knowing you for like the Latin slash
Right.
Spanish speaking food industry
Right.
is, maybe to the surprise of many people, like is a multi billion
Right.
dollar. I mean, we have companies here in Southern California that are like $1 billion plus grocery companies, and that are just targeted at these markets. So your
Right.
sense of the need for the opportunity was spot on. It's just hard to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And because I made mistakes, and I did have to shut that down, I still own the name. I What I did was I sold parts of it, and then I still own parts of it. And
Yeah.
so I'm still doing the Sabor Latino food symposium is still happening.
Nice.
So when a new entrepreneur came to me several years ago and said, hey, I'm thinking of opening up this trade show, and everyone said I should come talk to you and get your blessing, I said, you have my blessing, go forth, my friend. And he's someone that we're now supporting officially through the organization. And I do have, just 100% confidence that he was going to do very, very well. And
That's
I do
great.
see him doing things in a better way. And he's also a very highly motivated salesperson, and so that's also very good, because he is like always selling. And I'm glad I'm there to help him with tips and advice on the trade show industry. And so, but he's doing great. And like, I'm totally out of that business. I'm
Yeah,
into other
good.
businesses now.
Good to know.
But, yeah, and so we support him 100%. So the trade show that he owns is now officially supported by the LRA. And so
Okay.
and so it's sort of like our annual trade show. So we invite everyone and all of that. So yeah, it's exciting. I hope that you'll be there. So
I have to come one of these times. That'd be awesome. No, thank you. I'd learn more and meet a lot of really cool people here in town. So, all right. So one kind of one-ish last question around the food industry, and then a couple of more like personal leadership questions for you, because the food industry is only scratching the surface of your impact in the community and just your worth in the world. And so I want to make sure we get to that. But I'm really curious, because you mentioned it earlier. So we talked about the younger generation coming along, right? And sometimes not just different ideas, but also maybe like integrating technology into the restaurant. So I'm really curious, in a state of crisis like the industry is, and recovering, right? But in a rapidly changing world where, like, it seems like you and I wake up every Monday and there's some new technology that's either going to help us be amazing or replace us as humans, right? So in that kind of a world, like, what role do you see, or what types of technologies do you see influencing the future of the food industry, and maybe like what could restaurateurs and owners embrace, and then what are you concerned about?
Yeah, and okay, so there's no doubt that robotics is absolutely a not just a theme, but it is happening. And so, of course, the first reaction is, "Oh, my job is being replaced." But remember, right now it's hard to get anyone to do these jobs. Okay,
Right.
so if a robot can flip a burger, it's going to happen, and it is already happening.
Okay.
However, that does not mean that there's no room for people in the industry. It's just different jobs. Remember when, you and I probably go back to those days where, PCs were not a thing, right? And
Yeah.
now not only is a PC a essential tool, but there's a million jobs surrounding that. So that's what I
I'm
see.
right. I'm using a laptop, and I went to college, and I didn't even have a laptop, right? So I mean,
Right. I
like, and
remember.
now
Yeah.
we're using it to do this. So this is a
Yeah.
value add. It didn't replace you
Yeah.
or I
Right. I remember typing like my term papers
on a typewriter.
on a typewriter. Exactly. Yeah. I was like, exactly. And so that's kind of what I see in the industry. Yes,
Okay.
robotics will be a real force, and we're going to see a lot of human labor being replaced by robotics. However, that is going to lead to other jobs that we don't even know about today. And
Yeah.
so I would say, embrace it. I embrace it. I feel like, there's going to be other things that people can do. It's not a replacement for humans. Like, I don't see that happening. People also go to restaurants for an experience. You're not necessarily going to want a robotic, server.
Yeah.
However, we see a proliferation, especially with the younger generation, of experiential dining. And so they
Right.
want like the chef's tables, they want the experiences. And so
Yeah.
those are newer things to the industry that we see happening. And so, there's an evolution of some interesting things that are happening in the industry. But is a robot going to replace cooks? Probably yes.
Right.
Right. For the simple things, like I just went to San Francisco, and I was the coffee barista, and I
Oh, I
definitely
think I saw you post about that. Yeah,
yeah, and I
that's
did
where.
post it.
What was the story with that? Where was that?
Yeah, that was you know what, it was at SFO, and
Okay.
I was just on my way back to here to LA, and
Yeah.
I did need a coffee, and it was pretty late at night, and a lot of
Okay.
the Starbucks in the
Are
airport are
closed at certain
closed,
hours,
but
right?
this was open. It's open 24 hours, right? And I
Why
said,
not?
okay,
It's a
well,
robot, right? Sure,
I
it
am
doesn't
a
need to sleep.
right. I'm a coffee connoisseur, so I was very skeptical about the coffee, like quality, everything. But
Yeah.
honestly, it was pretty cool because it was just like everything has been thought of, and I got myself a
Interesting.
beautiful mocha that was pretty good
Okay. There you
from the
go.
robot.
Again, it's right. So like, there's still a Starbucks, because when people come through during the day and they want to interact with the barista, or they want to, like, they're still going to do that. But then this is something that mans a whole shift of available hours that no one would otherwise want to work.
Right. And so, and I would
Interesting.
say the technology is to be embraced. It is
Yeah.
scary. I'm like one of the bell curve, the first early adapters. I'm not an early adapter. I gotta wait.
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of the bell curve. I'm like, I'll wait. I just literally just updated my phone from like an 8, okay, from an
There you
Apple
go.
8, and yeah, but I do say that we need to embrace the technology, because we're going to see a lot of new jobs and new
Yeah.
job skills that are going to be needed
Yep.
within the industry. But yeah,
Yep.
we're seeing, flipping burgers and things that are like easy tasks. Yeah, the robots are definitely going to be doing that. There's no
Yeah.
question.
No, I 100% agree. Okay, so not personal, but like some stuff just about you. Let's shine a light on you a little bit. So you're a super dynamic community leader, like you are. You're involved. You're involved politically. You're involved socially. You're involved philanthropically. Like, you pop up all over the place in LA, which on social media, which is great. I mean, I like, that's my thing, is like, I love to see people that are like committed to their communities and really actively participate, right? It's the old, if you don't vote, don't complain kind of thing. So like, I admire like how hard you work in your day job, and how passionately committed you are to your family, but also how like active you are in the community. Having said that, right, like, how do you integrate your passion for giving back into not just your day jobs, but like how do you, when you sit and you think about like this is the life Lilly wants to lead, how do you balance out and say like, okay, well, I've got my work at LRA, I've got my responsibilities at home, I've got but I want to be involved in this group and I want to be on that board, and I like how do why I guess is part of the question, and then how do you
Yeah.
balance it all out?
Yeah, I think, thank you. That is a good question. In the past, just to get out there, I was like, I think I was in like too many spaces. And yes, there was like maybe about 5, 6 years ago when I said, "Whoa, this is so
Okay.
crazy. I have to like really be very intentional about what spaces I want to be involved in." And so then that's what I did. I really just saw, like, you have to be introspective and see what you want to do, like what is it that drives me and makes me happy, and what spaces do I want to be in. So I literally just took out all the stuff that did not make me happy, which was a
Okay.
lot.
Nice.
And I was like, let me just put this aside. And like, for example, you mentioned my American Heart Association work. I did
Right.
that for 13 years, and I was happy, but I didn't need to put that aside, and it wasn't for any kind of negative reason. It was just time. And from time to time they will call me and I will go and speak, and that's fine. But for a while I was doing a lot,
Yeah.
and it just, it was also bringing up, my health issues with my heart, and I
Right.
really needed to get away from that. So now, I am invited to different events from time to time, but I don't do as much there. um,
Interesting. That's an interesting comment. Like, so at some point you feel, and it's my words, not yours, right? But how it sounded, like you feel like as long as I'm an advocate for or a spokesperson for, like I'm basically like permanently in recovery, as opposed to maybe allowing yourself emotionally to kind of like be like I'm recovered and I'm in a new phase of my life, and it was a part of my life that defined a chapter like chapters ago, but I'm here in this chapter now. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's like cyclical, because there'll be times when I really miss it and I want to go back and help and talk about, because one of the things I used to do was like help um, people who had just had a heart attack, because
Okay.
I had a heart attack and they were in like cardiac rehab, and they had just like arrived within like a day or
Wow.
two, or they were just in shock. And so, me being like 3, 4, 5 years out, I was able to really make them feel better. And
Sure.
so things like that, sometimes I miss that, and sometimes I'll like to do that. But I think it's cyclical, because you're right, you do um, become, you're like in a headspace where it's like, I am surviving, I'm surviving, and then sometimes you need to just cut that off and just be like, okay, I'm done with that, I have
Yeah.
survived it, and I'm in a different space. And I did get to that point, and then, like I said, sometimes I just miss the camaraderie, the people. And yeah, I see people that, I'll get a phone call saying, because I'm on this hotline where, like, if
Oh.
you have a heart attack at Long Beach Memorial, I'm one of the people that they can call
Oh
after to,
wow.
to come in and talk to people. And so, anonymously. And so I will do that, and that sometimes, I'll do that for a while. But you're
And
right,
that
it's
that
that mindset.
fulfills that urge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, somewhat. And you're right, it's all about mindset. It is so all about the mind. It's like who you are. Like, sometimes I'll get into a negative space, and it's like, why? Just close it up and move
Yeah.
on.
We all
And
do. Yep.
exactly. And it takes a while to learn to be there. Like, it's like I can do it better now, but I when I was in my 30s, I did not so well at it.
Sure. No, I mean, like you said before, like perspective that we all gain with age and
Right.
wisdom and all that
Exactly.
kind of stuff, that just it makes us smarter, or at least hopefully it makes us smarter. So
Wisely.
all right. So in one of the orgs, like, so you're really involved with the LA EDC, right? And that I would imagine is like very complementary to the work you do, like to your job at LRA, right? Because you're essentially kind of on both sides, advocating for small business and economic development, and so that seems like it must be pretty aligned.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I feel like right now all of the boards and organizations that I am involved with align very well. Like you said, small business action. I'm on the um, Karen Bass's City of LA, Small Business Cabinet, LA EDC, the LRA. So a lot of it is business focused, and
Yeah.
it does align with some of the things that I'm doing now. And so, yeah, where a lot of it in the past might have been like more socializing and things
Sure.
like that, where I don't do as much of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
into the socializing as much. So
No, but I mean, you have a robust family life, and you have a busy professional life that has you traveling. So I mean, that's a lot for anybody. Last question. This is kind of an important one, and you represent this on a daily basis, just in how you carry yourself and how you inspire other people to be open minded. But I want to talk about diversity and inclusivity and access and how important that is, right? But not just for the kind of the simple, like, of course it's good for us, right? But like you see it. You talked about it before, like, hey, the older generation of a restaurateur who's open to letting the younger generation come along, and then maybe the Latino business owner who's a grandfather or a father lets his daughter come along, right? So talk to us about why like just a more diverse world, a more open-minded, a more accepting, inclusive world isn't just good for us, but it's like good for business too.
right, right, absolutely. And because there's so much human potential that is being tamped down when we don't have diversity and inclusion. Exactly, like, women in the workforce. I remember, I think it was like in the 80s, women still couldn't get their own credit cards. It
It
was
wasn't that
crazy. And
wasn't that long ago.
right. And today I was speaking to a gentleman whose wife was a colonel in the military, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. And so not having, you know people live up to their potential is not a good thing for anyone. And I do like merit based. I am a little old school. I'm not like, hey, everyone gets a trophy situation. I don't like that. I think that has been very that has not been good for the country, not been good for anyone. I don't do that in my personal life. And when I say merit based, and you can make it about all sorts of things. It doesn't have to be about like, oh, the strongest or the smart. It could be a lot of different things. But seeing people who really have the capacity to do what they need to do, which doesn't mean that if you don't have the capacity, I mean, we're not going to take people who are institution, need to be in an institution, or have diminished mental capacity, and tell them, hey, you're on your own. That's not what that
Right.
means at all.
Right.
It
No.
means just letting people who really, if you want to fly, like,
Yeah.
let's make it easier for you to do what you need to do. And so I'm all about that, for sure.
Yeah.
That's, I want to see that. I want to see more of that.
No, I love that. I love that. I just love this. The first part of your answer, just this idea that there's like unlimited human potential out there that gets tamped down when we exclude or discriminate or gatekeep anything, right?
Yeah,
That's a
and one of the first things I heard about you was what I kind of intrigued me. This was many, many years ago, and I don't know if it's true or not. I never asked you. Maybe I can ask you now,
well
because
you
it's something
were
that I did, because it was
yeah
something similar to what I did. Because I heard, so and so, oh yeah, this guy travels. He like lives around in different
yeah I
spots,
did
and he's like travel and does. And I was like, oh, because like because part of me, like, breaking the rules of like society was doing something very similar, where I spent time in different spots,
yep.
not necessarily being permanent anywhere. But that was one of the best things I ever did in my life,
I
because and I
literally changed my life. No,
well,
literally
that's what intrigued me about you.
changed my life, and I mean in every context it changed my life, specific to your question, it broadened my outlook on life.
Yeah,
In a way, it
right.
opened my receptors. It softened my heart. It took me out of my bubble. However you want to describe it,
Yeah,
it did it. Now, having said that, like to answer very specifically, so yeah, from 20, I've had the good fortune to travel a couple different buckets of time in my life and my career. But the first time I really did it, which I mean, that was like the whoa breakthrough moment, was 2003 to 2008, and that was work related. And I was still resident here, but I traveled abroad, and it was to Asia, and I had never done anything like that before in my life. And in my mid 30s, that was like transformational. It was like, wait, what? There's literally like billions of people out there that don't wake up in the morning and think about the world the exact same way I do, right? So that was transformative. That, now I look back and I say that probably laid the groundwork for, or softened me to what happened, which is what you heard about, which is from 2015 to the beginning of the pandemic, 2015 to 2020. I literally sold everything I owned. I sold the car, got rid of the apartment, whittled life down to 2 Walmart storage bins worth of stuff, and then backpack in a suitcase. And I moved to South America. I moved to Chile in like 2016, and then lived in Chile for about a year. But while I was in Chile, I would go like stay and I went to Argentina and to Colombia and to Paraguay.
I'm so
and
jealous.
and I did it for like, I'd meet Argentinian friends in Chile and say, like in Santiago, and say like, okay, hey, I'm going to go to Buenos Aires for 5-6 weeks. Like, who should I know? Who should I talk to? I want to learn about the entrepreneurial economy. Like, I'll buy them a beer or a coffee or go for a walk, whatever. And then, of course, I got lucky that those people that I met would always introduce me to like great people on the other end, right, back in their home cities.
Yeah.
And so that experience, in spite of the fact that I already should have been open-minded, because I was the white gringo guy who married a Mexicana in university in Phoenix, and then had a girl who is now my 30-year-old half Mexican, half American Irish girl, right? And so I've always been like at least exposed to the culture or different cultures. But even with that as my baseline, like it wasn't until my late 40s, that this Latin American trip or kind of period of 5 years living as a nomad completely transformed my life. It's why I'm doing this. It's why I'm doing this show. It's why I'm fascinated with people like you. It's why so many of the guests are women or Latinas or people of color or LGBTQ. Like it's because there's like this world. And you'll laugh at this. I was interviewing a guy who's an American from Connecticut who went to Harvard Business School and ultimately wound up going into the Peace Corps and then moving to Peru. And now he's like one of the first venture capitalists in Peru. And we joked, Greg's probably 10 years younger than me, so he's like mid 40s. And we joked, and I said something along the lines of like, why did you do this? And he was like, what we wound up joking about was like, because we already know how like guys that look like us and sound like us look at the world. Like we already know what the world is for middle-aged white dudes, right? And frankly, to me, at this stage and age in my life, like you say about stages in our lives, like the middle-aged white guy world is just not that interesting to me. Like, and it's also, by the way, and I tend to look very long term. No, it's just not. I mean, and I tend to look like very long term. So like,
yeah,
it's not the middle-aged white guy world isn't even going to be the dominant world 50 to 100 years from now. So to me, I'm like, that's the world that my kid is going to live in. My grandson, her son, by the way, we just found out she's pregnant like 3 weeks ago. So this is the first time me mentioning that on the podcast. I'm probably going to get in trouble for her from this, but like that's what I'm much more interested and intrigued in that world. So it leads to these types of conversations. No, I'm with you. Travel changes your perspective. Moving around. Yeah. That's why I'm fascinated when I watched your journey taking LRA to Houston and to New York City. I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting to watch, right? Because this is like, obviously there's Latino restaurants and a huge booming part of the economy in those cities or in Chicago or in other places. So to see you take it there.
That was a bit of info that always intrigued me about you, because it stuck in my head and I was like, yep. I love doing that sort of thing. And I like commend you for doing that. I am completely jealous right now because I would I'm like ready to buy one of those like vans right now and just like live in it. And
see, we're trading spots, because now I'm like I'm going to become you over the next 10 years. I'm like super settled and interested in LA, and I'm super kind of like, I'm in my rooting nesting phase. But now maybe you'll flip and you guys will go on the road and you'll be the adventurers.
Yeah. I mean, it's going back to what you said, like what things make you happy and what things can, like I don't want to be socializing every single night at some party. Like that's just
Yeah.
boring to me. It's
Yep.
super boring. And, I can't stand to go to another gala. And I mean, it sounds stupid to say that, but it's like, I just can't handle it. And I don't want to go. I
Yeah.
just don't.
So
And
don't. Yeah.
right. And like you said, it's kind of, I love what you said about, we already know what that white guy midlife, it's the same thing too, like with corporate America, like not to be like completely narcissistic, but whenever I focus on anything, I pretty much do it and I win. And so I'm already like outdoing, like I don't need to be outdoing
Yeah.
those because I already
No.
outdid it, like
Yep.
I already won at this, I already
You're
won at
winning.
that.
You're
So
winning. You're winning every
right.
day.
And
Yeah.
and then after a while it gets boring. It's like, okay, so
Yep.
what is this about? Like, now my my significant other, who's sitting right next to me,
Awesome.
she's
Hello.
she's
Hello.
doing some
Hello.
she's doing something else.
Some important
um,
something.
and we're like, we love to hike and we love
You
to
do.
and rock climb, and we just bought this like old piece of crap 1970s like house up in Sequoia,
Oh
right? Like four
wow.
miles. So you're invited as well. And we're just like
Awesome.
redoing it. She loves to do woodwork. I love to like
That's
design and stuff.
beautiful.
So and I love thrifting. I mean, there's just things like, why do I need to
Good
go
for you.
spend all this? Like when you walk into my house right now, it's like most of the stuff is from thrift stores and people can't
Good for
believe it.
you.
It's just like we just refurbished it and renewed it, whatever,
That's great.
repurposed it. And because that's the kind of lifestyle we live.
That's awesome.
And yeah, exactly. And so
You're
we
yeah.
just,
I'm feeling the like Lily at her apex vibe right now. I feel like it's kind of coming together for you. That's incredible to hear.
yeah. And so that's where we're at right now. I mean, I
That's
love
great.
the LRA. I hope, when the time comes for me to like hand the reins off to someone and me go, spend my day hiking in Sequoia and driving my van around. It'll be a great transition. And yeah, but like you said,
You'll
it's
be fully prepared for
after
it.
a while you just, it's just like boring. It's
Yeah,
like
well,
I don't.
I mean, I mean, the challenges like we talked about, inclusivity, access. I mean, economic development at the human level, like at the individual family level, with some of the examples you gave before of successful family businesses. I mean, that's like legacy stuff. Like that is fun.
Well,
Like
that's what's going
that's
to
like
allow you to do, yeah,
right.
allow you to do
Yeah,
what you need to do. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. I mean,
Good for you.
unfortunately it's a necessary evil. We got to
Yep.
do it, but
Yep.
then it
No, good for
allows you
you.
to have some free time.
Last question for you, and we'll take it back because I'm sure once we publish this episode and you share it, like there will be a bunch of people in your restaurant world that will be listening. So let's finish on the restaurant advice. Like so, in this last section, I love to make it actionable. So from your experience in the culinary industry in a variety of ways, right? Like if you had to give 2 or 3 key strategies that entrepreneurs can apply to foster sustainable growth, what would those 2 or 3 strategies be? And again, it's a crisis moment, so maybe they're specific to this period right now, this next couple of years, or maybe they're more general. But what would you give 2 or 3 strategies that entrepreneurs, restaurateurs can focus on to create sustainable business growth?
I think right now I mean, this is the basic, consistent, right? Being consistent and showing up. There are ways to grow your business, even in, like you said, in the best of times. And right now we're in the not so best of times. And
Yeah,
so there's additional challenges. But for me, restaurant owners who, but it's hard for me to say this because I see people taking that initiative. And even with that, they're still struggling. So it's really
sure.
hard for me to say, well, if you're going to do this, you're going to be
Yeah,
successful, because I do see people that are taking, the initiative of learning, like, what the trends are in food. You're in LA, you better have a vegan burrito on your menu
right.
because people are vegans, people are
Yep.
vegetarians, and so if you're not like kind of listening to what the people want, you're doing yourself a disservice. You
So
definitely
some
need.
universal truths, right? Consistency, listening to the markets, showing up. Like so, and again, we're not giving bubblegum advice. So like we're not promising that this works, but we're just kind of maybe we're just reminding you, right? That tough times are bad, good times are bad times. Like there are some basic truths that are important, and those are a couple of big ones. I mean, I think I can't tell you how many businesses in general, but I bet it's true in the restaurant industries that you hear that, like, why did you start this? Like, oh, I didn't talk to any customers. I didn't understand the neighborhood. I just wanted to do this for me. Right. I thought it was cool.
Right.
And it's like, oh, that's a formula for disaster.
It is a formula for disaster.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So no, that, I think, in fairness, protecting, like you said, you're not giving cheap advice. Like, these are just fundamental bits of advice that everybody should listen to. So, hey, Lily, I know you're busy. You got to get on with your day. This has been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to just getting to know each other as friends and having more of these kinds of conversations when we're not recording it and publishing it for the world. But it was really, really joyful to have you spend some time with me today. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rob. And like I said, I was looking forward to this conversation for a while, and thank you for your patience. And I still have your t-shirt. Oh my gosh.
I think, hey, might be coming out with some new versions of that later this summer.
Good.
So
yeah, no, thank you so much for everything. And this has been great. Thank you for the opportunity. And I look forward to many more collaborations. Thank you.
Hey, real quick, how can folks find you on social, or find to connect to the LRA on social media or online?
So my Instagram handle is the Lily Rocha, ROCCA. And then Latino Restaurant Association is the handle for the Latino Restaurant Association. So awesome. Those are ways people can check out what I'm doing.
That's great. Thank you so much. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did recording it. As always, we thank you so much for listening and watching. Today's show was recorded here in Los Angeles and produced by the incomparable Deanna Bernal in Mexico City. We can only grow this show by you listening and sharing the show with friends. So please find, follow, subscribe, and share our audio-only show on Spotify, Apple, or via any other popular podcasting platforms, as well as find the video version of our show now available on our YouTube channel over at Entrepreneurial Thinkers. And of course, you can follow along on our various social media platforms for fun and informative clips and content at Entrepreneurial Thinkers, wherever you can find us. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at I Am Rob Ryan on just about any social media platform. Gracias, thank you, and have an awesome day.